Welcome to the Tuesday Mortgage Coach Mastermind. I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and on behalf of Dave Savage and the whole crew at Mortgage Coach, welcome. We are so excited you're here, and I'm super excited because I don't have to do this all by myself today. I've got none other than social media strategist Deborah Byrd at my side.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday.
You know, it's so much fun. And so we titled this, what did we title it? 3 big ideas for what?
How do you have exponential growth or success for your next real estate event?
Perfect. So if you've been listening to Deborah and I at all over the last quarter plus, we've been talking a lot about that this is the time, right? We all know refis are slowing down or have come to a halt for some of you. And it's really time to get belly to belly with real estate agents. And certainly the number one advice is picking up the phone and setting up one-on-one meetings. But the only thing better than a one-on-one meeting with a real estate agent is a one-to-many real estate agent meeting. And so those of you who watch the Modern Real Estate Summit, the Modern Mortgage Summit, sorry, I got Modern Real Estate Summit on my mind, one track mind, Modern Mortgage Summit, rewind a couple of weeks. You know that we didn't tell everyone what their content had to be. They came up with what they thought was most pertinent as we headed into the end of 2021. And really, we're trying to gain momentum in 2022. And we had not one, but 2 huge producers, a $400 million producer and a $100+ million producer who both did videos on one-to-many, how to fill a room and what to do in a one-to-many event. And so that's kind of where we want to kick off, right? Deborah, we're going to talk here about hosting a mastermind and a little bit of what Deborah and I have done with real estate agents over the past few weeks, and then kind of give you guys the setup of an easy way to have a mastermind in the next couple of weeks, and then to use that mastermind to launch into 2022, really with 12 months of content that you can follow up with. Sound good?
Yes. And I just want to echo the fact that, especially with what you and I have been doing, Todd, and several of the mortgage coaches with the CMA a day challenge or even the TCA a day challenges, those have been mostly webinar based. And so this will be something that you can apply, whether it's webinar or face-to-face. Although I do challenge the community, especially as we are in fourth quarter, to really leverage, the Modern Real Estate Summit that's coming up here in just 2 weeks and make it a face-to-face, make it an open house, and try to get back in the game and committing to at least one event a month that is face-to-face.
I think that's the perfect setup. And so that's really the kind of the spoiler alert. We briefly talked about it last week, but we really wanted to unpack a little bit in more detail of how I would run one, how Deborah would run one, and how you can run a open house 2 weeks from tomorrow. So it gives you plenty of time to fill the room, pick up the phone and do it, and host a Modern Real Estate Summit event. And you can kind of title it however you want. Maybe Deborah has something more exciting than come join me to watch the Modern Real Estate Summit. But really the key with it is, and we had so many of you who did this last time. And so, yes, it's an investment. It's a $99 investment, right? And then there's ways to supercharge it, but I don't know, they do that at Dave & Buster's. I don't know if you guys have, catch the reference. You supercharge your card when you plug in your thing and you give them your credit card at Dave & Buster's. They're like, well, don't you want to supercharge it for only $4?
I haven't heard of that. How do I not know that?
I don't know. I'm thinking Dave & Buster's. We call Dave & Buster's in my house because that's how my daughter would say when she was a kid. But
hey, it's a DB.
Exactly. But how do you? Oh yeah, exactly. Should have missed that one. Boom. Blown away. Now I'm totally off track. But again, it's an inexpensive way to get it going. And so we had a lot of you who did it last time, and I followed back up with people who had successful events. And it's funny. Everyone's had what I would call a different level of success in their own mind. But I would say at a minimum, everyone reported back it was at least an 8 out of 10 event. And people did them different ways. I would recommend doing a full day open house, right? The event starts at 8 a.m. Pacific. It's going to go to like 2-ish, maybe 3 if we run late. Really, as you guys know, we have pre-recorded content and who knows how much we talk in between. So that's the X factor. We try to keep it like this and it grows like this because we get so excited about the content as we're talking about it. And, again, it depends on what time zone you're in. If I'm on the East Coast, I'm going to start it off with a call it a lunch and learn and getting people in there and then provide lunch. And then I would be piggybacking it on the back end with a happy hour, right? Make it so that people who want to start off can stay as long as they want, right? But don't tell people to stay all day. Most real estate agents are too busy to stay all day. And so I would start it off with a lunch if I was East Coast, and then I would watch it, engage, right? You can put it on pause. You can mute it out, skip a video, and then, ask questions about, what you just heard, and then encourage people just to stay as long as they want to stay. And then you can have a second batch of people who come in for the happy hour, and then you'll have some overlap of people who stay all day. And then I think you West Coasters, again, you're going to do it with, you're going to have breakfast and you're going to get lunch. And then you can certainly do a mid-afternoon happy hour. That one I'll leave up to you. But ultimately, the people who had the 10 out of 10 successes versus the people who were 8 out of 10 successes, I think had a few things in common. Number one is they ran it all day and they told people not to be there all day. The people who tried to pitch it as come sit with me for 6 hours, guess what? No one wants to sit with you for 6 hours. There will be a couple of people who do, but that's going to be overwhelming. So if you just say, hey, I've got this event and I'd like you to drop by for at least an hour, and then tell them about how you're going to segment it out, right? And have it all prepared for them. That was really the biggest difference between the people who were 8 out of 10s and the people who were 10 out of 10s. The people who were 10 out of 10s let people drop in and went through the day. And that would be my encouragement. And I would say probably the only other thing, and then I'll throw it back to you, Deborah, was that the people who had 10 out of 10s invited a ton of people, right? They oversold the event, so to speak, because they didn't want to have a small room, right? If you invite 5 people, you're going to get 2 or 3. So you want to invite 25 people so you get 10 or 15. And so I think that that's the other part is like, who do you know? You know a ton of agents out there and you've got to kind of get excited about it. You probably watched it last time. I mean, you saw who we had last time. We've got about, I'd say half those same speakers, Ryan Serhant, Daniel Byrd, Nneka Jenkins. And then we've got just a few other people who are just off the chart rock stars. And that's the opportunity, right? You can resell them on the people that they saw before and liked, and then entice them with these new people that none of us have seen in our network, but are like really crazy, good humans and good real estate agents who built great businesses.
So I love what you just said, Todd, and this goes with any event that you're hosting. So I know the title of this was 3 big ideas to maximize your next real estate event. Idea number 1 is committing to the day and the time. And I agree with Todd that if you make it more of an open house where people can come and go, because again, anyone who has time to give 6 hours a day, all day in your office may not even be the right agent that you're targeting. But when you make it the flexibility where they can come and go at their leisure, and the second part to that is having a good hook to entice them to your mastermind. Like, what is it that you're going to be talking about that's sexy enough or relevant enough for them to want to attend? And we'll break down kind of the playbook of just even what some of my clients are doing to help drive people to an event is commit to the day, commit to the time, and create a sexy hook or a sexy topic that's going to make people compelled to want to learn. And with this, I mean, it couldn't be, for it to only be $99, first of all, is insane, where you could pay $100, have people come to your office, and you can, and this will be part of the playbook that we talk about, but to send a sizzle reel of just even saying you have Ryan Serhant and some of the big names that you can drop, that the largest real estate producers and industry leaders are all going to be sharing their secret sauces and nuggets. I mean, that is sexy enough to draw people in and get them there. Now, them staying the entire time is probably unrealistic. So number 1, pick the day, have a sexy topic and hook. And then number 2, we want to dive into number 2, Todd, or did you want to expand on that at all?
Well, it's funny. I just pulled up the taking action notes from the Modern Mortgage Summit to see what Michelle Castle said. And she kind of said it right there. You nailed it. She said, have a super sexy title because that's how you're going to get people to go there. And she said, have great content. And I think that that's the biggest part where most of us struggle is what's my content going to be? And is it really going to be great? And the Modern Real Estate Summit content is going to be great. I think that that's the biggest part. And then just kind of a couple of sidebars, right? She says that she actually, advertises it on Facebook. She actually, targets who her people are, puts it out there, does a video on it. And then she says that she sends a video email out to people with the invitation after she puts it on Facebook. And then she follows up with text messages to get people to confirm. She uses Eventbrite as a registration tool. Again, you can use Eventbrite for free. And what's good about using Eventbrite is, number 1, you get people to sign up. So you have commitment of who's coming, right? And again, when she's putting out there on Facebook, think about that. A lot of those realtors may not be her normal realtors. You could actually, bring in a few people who aren't in your go-to, group of agents. And then it's a commitment, right? When someone signs up for a free ticket, they're committing to come. And then also it does the follow-up for you, right? You can set up the follow-up emails in there. So I think it's one of those pieces where it does give a good, it's just a good system, right? You have to figure out, how am I going to systematize it? And, from a timing perspective, this is the time. Most real estate agents are going to be not thinking 2 weeks ahead right now. So you need to call them this week. And then you're going to need to call them again next week. And then really, it's going to sound really dumb, but the end of next week and even the beginning of the week of the event is when you're going to sign the most people up. And I think that that's always the weirdest part. People are like, oh my gosh, I should have planned this a month ago. No, we strategically decided to make this a topic 2 weeks out because we know that that's how real estate agents think.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Todd. Some of the clients that I'm talking to, they're like, if you look at the calendar, we're 15 calendar days away and we're 11 business days, which the reality is most of the traffic and commitments that you get from real estate agents, because, they're just like loan officers, you're, putting out fires and you're busy, right? So getting their commitment too far in advance sometimes can be the ones that RSVP and don't show. So don't think that because we're 15 days away that you can't create that epic invite strategy, which just, disclaimer, make sure you do invite this to all agents. It can't just be the agents that you work with for the RESPA compliance piece. But I wanted to mention one of my clients, and I think even Dan Keller, he had mailed the book, Big Money Energy, that was written by Ryan Serhant. And it's actually a really good book. I'm going to admit, I kind of judged Ryan at first. I thought he was just this, baby face somehow with gray hair, like TV celebrity, and thought he was going to be kind of a douchebag. So I apologize, Ryan, on the air, which is really mean to say. I know, I just thought he was this celebrity that maybe hadn't been through the trenches, but was, kind of a cute face and was that HGTV style where you see those clients where they're buying homes and they, make $30,000 a year and it's like $1 million home. So all that to say, I apologize for judging, because after I have gotten to know him and I've heard him on these interviews, I really like him and he has really good ideas and content, and it works because he works and he talks a lot about energy. And so that was one strategy that you could implement, is mailing the book. Now, again, we're 15 days away, but that could be a good lead in that then you're going to want to follow up with a phone call and make sure that they got the book. And again, this would be for your selected partners. Robert Stover had mentioned last time that he would mail a letter and he would clip a dollar bill to the top, which I thought was very clever. And he said in the letter, I'm clipping this dollar bill for 2 reasons. 1, because it's important to me, and 2, because my job is to help you make more money. And one of the ways that I'm going to help you make more money is going to be from the lessons that we take away from this summit that I'm hosting. It's an all-day event at my office. It's a come and go style. If you can drop in for 30 minutes or an hour, we'd love to have you. But then we're going to have a strategy post event each month to carry the momentum. And so I thought that was a very clever way where you don't have to go buy a book and it's just clipping a dollar, and it's, it's attention getting. I don't know if y'all saw on the Modern Real Estate, either Facebook or Instagram page just yesterday, I believe, Kelly Zitlow shared her text script of the exact recipe of how she sent a custom text to her top real estate partners. And she attached our commercial kind of sizzle video with it, which was a very easy, simple script that you guys can all rip off and duplicate. So go follow that page on the Modern Real Estate Summit and look at her text message. And then she also shared how she would call a whale. And I think that's where some of us kind of get stuck, as we think, what are we going to say? And we so overthink it. And when you hear her role play, it's like so simple and so common sense that sometimes isn't so common anymore, but it's something so easy to reach out and say, hey, it is the holidays, 'tis the season. Maybe the best gift you can give is not a pie, but give them the opportunity to come to your office and hear the best of the best in the industry, and just make it a Friendsgiving, even if you wanted to, where you have a pre-Thanksgiving meal that they could drop in, and it's deepening relationship, it's offering value, but it's connecting too. And you're going to have some people there maybe you've never met before. Other strategies that I know my clients are doing is they're using this time to give back where they've maybe burned some of their title reps, real estate attorneys with these refis that they've been at max capacities. They've been begging to get docs, over and closings done really in this past year, that they're giving this as a gift to the title reps, to CE instructors, to inspectors, to home warranty companies, where they're saying, hey, I'm going to give you, 10 tickets if you want to give these out to your top agent partners, and kind of give thanks and make it this catalyst of just giving from abundance and saying thank you from an overall industry kind of, team of ways that they can even promote this as just a, extension of your brand and what you stand for. And then last one, I'll just make this my last one so I don't fire hose y'all. But one thing that Denise did last time is she sent an email out to her past clients and said, the best way to thank your real estate agent if you bought or sold in the last year is usually with a referral. And number two, I'd say, would be gifting them with this special ticket to the Modern Real Estate Summit. And I am willing for this community. I will show y'all kind of a mock invitation if you want something like this, where I'll put your headshot in the middle with like some of the top speakers all around, where it shows that you're hosting an event, because maybe you just need help with just the invitation that you can send out, whether it's in an email CRM, a text message, on social. If you just need that piece, I will help y'all, because I don't want that to be your roadblock of getting the word out. So just email me, info@plugandplaysm.com. But that's what we did for her last year, where she sent it out to her database and said, if you buy the influencer package, it makes it like $25 a ticket. It's super cheap. So several of her clients were like, absolutely. They are so grateful to have gotten into that dream home with, a payment that is less than what they were paying. And it's a bigger home than what they had. And so she just offered it as an extension of, giving. And that's part of her brand, and part of her mission is to always come from abundance and not a scarcity mindset, where even asking them for that help was, again, for the mission of helping the industry in our community who serves, the industry. So those are just some other ideas of what some of my other clients are doing to help bridge this. We've got 15 days. What of those could you maybe execute? And if you need my help, let me know, and I'll get that invitation for you, which will make you look like a rock star. Like, it'll be you with Ryan Serhant and Kyle Whistle and, all these all-star players, where it looks as if you got them to speak for an event that you're hosting. I mean, for $99, it's crazy.
Love it. Love it. All right. So I got a half a page of notes already for my own team. So that is terrific. I hadn't thought about the book. I'm a big believer in the book thing. And so, some of you are thinking, oh, there's no way I can do it. Remember, Amazon can deliver it with a little gift message from you. You could spend the extra, whatever it is, $4 or something like that, and have the book wrapped, which makes it even cooler, because then they're going to know it was a gift, something different. But it'll have that, it's not quite as cool as a handwritten note, but it'll have a little thing that says, hey, this is compliments of Deborah Byrd, or whatever your name is. And so that's super cool. You could also use it as a follow-up thing. So one of the things that Michelle did, she said she always does, is make sure she sends a handwritten note afterwards. And so think about that. You could send a handwritten note and say, gosh, I know you loved Ryan Serhant. Check out his book, Big Money Energy. And I guess I should transparently say, I was kind of like Deborah. I thought, all right, this guy's kind of a whiner on TV, but you know what? His content was the best rated content of the last event. And then you saw it, Dave Shant and I interviewed him, maybe a month or 6 weeks ago. And he was actually a super cool guy, super humble on the phone, was really easy to talk to. And I've got a whole new level of respect. And I've also listened to that book. I didn't read the book. I listened to the audio book of it, but I took something like 22 pages of notes. It was an excellent read, and something I would kind of encourage. A couple of other thoughts I had of the phone script. So first off, remember what Deborah just said, go to the Modern Real Estate Summit on Instagram or Facebook. There's great content that her team creates for us there. And Kelly Zitlow scripts, that's sort of your silver bullet right there to keep it easy. I would think the one thing I would add to it is, take a minute at modernrealestatesummit.com, look at the real estate agents on there, and figure out who you're talking to and who it is what brand they represent. And then think about, who might be enticing to them. Certainly Ryan Serhant should be enticing. He's the number one followed real estate brand in the world, right? He's got $160 million listing right now in New York. It's crazy, but they've sold billions of dollars of real estate. We've got Jason Mitchell. He's the number one real estate agent in the world. So even if you don't know what brand they might identify with, just those two names in itself should get someone's butt in the seat. And then, let's pretend they're with, Keller Williams, right? We've got Cody Gibson doing a keynote. We've got Kyle Whissel doing a keynote, right? Kyle Whissel, if you know someone who's coached by Tom Ferry, he was just on Tom Ferry's stage at the Tom Ferry event. So he's well known there. If you know someone, there's a newer company called Real. One of their top producers, her name is Spring Benson, and she's just a rock star. I mentioned her on last Friday's call. And she spent the last year, I don't know, she sold like a few hundred houses and then traveled the world with her family. So she's kind of a big deal. I'm super excited. I don't know her yet, but she's one of the people I'm most excited to see. So just take a few moments and look and see, connect with people. If they're with EXP, right? We've got, Daniel Beer, who's one of their top folks there. If they're HGTV people, we've also got Seth O'Byrne, who's the number one real estate agent in San Diego. Him and Kyle Whissel fight it out. Like one's number one for dollars and one's number one for units. It's a kind of a crazy thing. So think about that in your sales pitch. It's really easy. And then the other thing I would maybe encourage you to do, Deborah mentioned the influencer pass, right? So there's 2 passes you can buy. 3. You can buy the individual one for yourself, right? Easy, like check, be it done. But she already told you, the spoiler alert is you can buy a bigger pass. You can share it with a coworker. We had people do that last time where, 2 big producers in a branch, co-opted on a 100 ticket pass. You can also get a 25 ticket pass, because I also think that, we all know the fortune is in the follow-up. And so we're going to talk at the end about the follow-up piece, but I want to drop the hint now that part of it too is going to be to get them to watch. So you have follow-up engagement with them so they can see the segments that they didn't see live with you. Right, Deborah?
Wow, that's so good. I didn't even think about that. How I've been talking about the influencer packages with some of the VPs, and I have some that are mortgage coaches, like business coaches, or that are over regions, and they help with whether it's development of the loan officers or recruiting. But then I also have a lot of producing branch managers. And so this is also something that they are using, whether it's to get back and pour into the loan officers who have been, killing it, but now, rates are starting to go up a little bit, and they kind of need to get back in the habit of prospecting, but have been, I don't want to say burned out, but a little burned out by, working all day on purchase business and refis at night. So here's one way as a producing branch manager, or even if you're recruiting, that you could invite future prospects that you're trying to court, but then also give away tickets to your LOs to give to their top prospects as well. So not only inviting your current LOs and your future ones that you want, but give them a few to hand out. So that's where I've seen a lot of people leverage those packages, which makes it super cheap. And again, it's just such the perfect time of year when it's kind of the season of giving, and we're wrapping up the end, but we need to have more accountability with conversations that we're having. You could easily have 50 conversations this week and 50 conversations next week, making that probably more conversations than you've had all year for some of you, if you're honest, and get them to this event. So don't just limit it to the LO. It could be producing branch managers, VPs. You could be in the C-suite, and wanting to get your sales managers there.
Well, we do have a couple of companies that have bought tickets, 1,000 tickets. So they're, in theory, then I don't know what number of LOs they have, but each of their LOs is going to get anywhere from, 4 to 10 tickets to give out to their partners. And I think it's one of those things. I mean, most of you have 25 agents, and you could call and invite. And so, yeah, it's a bigger investment, but it's not a crazy investment. So let's kind of switch gears, Deborah, and let's sort of talk through what else would you do at the day of the event, to make it, kind of a fun atmosphere. Like, how would you engage with people? You certainly could sit there all day like this and just watch the video and not have any conversation, right? But what would you do if you were hosting it live, like during that day?
No, I definitely think you've got to break it up and have some interaction. I mean, that's where the whole collaborative learning and, pausing and getting people to all kind of chime in of, now let's take this hyper local. What are we experiencing here? What are your thoughts on this? When people feel like they're contributing and they're building connections and relationships, that's essential. I think the single biggest mistake that most lenders do when they're hosting an event is they don't have an in-class survey. I don't even like to call it survey, but it's no different than when I used to teach, honestly, is you have like a warm-up or something there, and you could do this digitally, but I think there's power in giving them time to just sit in their own thoughts and write out, questions like, what was it about this event that made you want to attend? Like, I think it's really good to look at motive, because you can learn a lot about, was it like, what was it you were hoping to learn before they even start learning? Because you want to then spot check, did you deliver on that value? So what was it that drove them there? What is it they were hoping to learn? Two, I would ask things, what would have to happen a year from today, so by the end of 2022, for you to have success in your real estate business? Okay. I would want to know some of those things. And some of this, again, they're just writing this out in their own, piece where they don't have to share this and be vulnerable with people that maybe they don't know. I would ask them what they currently love, or do they have a lender partner? Because again, most of the clients that I work with, when they're calling and prospecting, they are calling people who already have lender partners. And they, like Jeremy Forcier always says, that's all right, I'll go for number 2 slot and I'll earn my way to number 1. It's important to know, what is that lender doing that they are doing well? And then what are the gaps? That was the question you asked before. And then how do you become the solutionist for their business, where you mend the gap? And that is what you put in a CRM, and you drip each month, because you'll start to see patterns of what each of them say. And that's where you build out content and talking points for your next time that you call or engage with them or have another meeting, that you're relevant and valuable to what they need. Because again, like Dan Keller said, he pitches this as, he works with a lot of team leads. So his pitch is, does your team need an upgrade? Because usually team leads need help leveraging training their teams below them. I don't like to say below, but you know what I mean, where they can now leverage the Modern Real Estate Summit as part of a training package each month. So again, you have to really get to know who's in the room, and if they're coming and going and you're trying to engage and you're going to be high energy, you may not have the opportunity to shake hands with everybody. So it's going to be essential that you have that sheet, so it gives you something to follow up with, to make sure you have talking points and you're not just calling to call, where you're just used for another, event where it was valuable, but you're not getting business from it.
Yeah, I love that idea. So think about that, right? You could definitely just have something as easy as a pad of paper, but how cool would it be just to type something up with your logo on the top of it, print it out, that has a couple of questions, and then give them a handful of in fact, I'll have my team make one, and I'll get it up by the end of the week. But it'll be, kind of some questions. So we'll think of some questions to ask, but then it'll have the speaker name and then the top takeaways. And then what I would do is, if you have a team member who can help you, again, you can maybe have another loan officer do it, so there's more real estate agents in the room with you if you're worried about filling the room. And I would photocopy it before they leave. So when someone's leaving, I'd be getting up, giving them a hug goodbye, thanks for coming. And then I would say, hey, real quick, let me copy that. And think about that. You're getting what they thought was most important, which goes back to Deborah's question, is what were you hoping to learn, right? That's what they learned. And then it gives you the opportunity to follow back up with them with that knowledge when they leave. And that's, again, I think that's where there's an opportunity. Holy smokes, I don't know if you guys hear my dog is going crazy in the background. Chihuahua. My daughter's getting home from school, so this poor dog has anxiety when she leaves. Apparently,
Definitely not a Great Dane.
I'm not a good substitute. Yes, not a Great Dane. But ultimately, again, you're getting that, you're having something there for them to take notes, right? This is kind of big takeaway number 2 as part of the day of the event, so that you can get information of how to help them in 2022, right? That was our promise to you, is how do we make this actionable over the next 12 months? And one of the ways you make it actionable is by figuring out what's important to them. And then the reason that that's important is because let's pretend that, like, put on my Modern Mortgage Summit hat that I just talked about. Let's pretend it for them that they were trying to figure out how to do one-to-many, and let's pretend they had watched Michelle Castle's one-to-many. Well, guess what? Then you can follow up with them later and you can say, hey, you know what? Nicole Ruth did one on how one-to-many as well. Let me make sure that you watch that. Here's a pass to get in and see it. So again, you're just looking for that opportunity to add value. And then I think, Deborah, you also nailed it with the teams part. A lot of teams last year used the Modern Real Estate Summit as training for their agents. And so again, they're always looking for material to share, right? It happens all the time. I had a friend of a friend reach out to me yesterday. In fact, she's coached by Brett Tanner as one of the speakers. And Brett said, oh, if you have a question on that, you should reach out to Todd. So I zoomed in yesterday to their team meeting to give content. Again, she was looking for an expert to come in and talk about something. And you're the expert, but you just forget that you're the expert. And I think I just have to remember that you're awesome. They're counting on you, and you're the one who's going to help elevate it up. So that would be one other thing I would do as they're leaving the event, is make sure that you get a copy of whatever it is that they just took notes on.
So number one is creating the sexy title for your event and committing to, the day that you're hosting, and creating that multi-channel marketing approach to driving traffic there. Number two is that in-class strategy to make sure that you're capturing what is it that they were hoping to learn, so that then you can build off of that and create a content strategy to consistently deliver value. Walt Schultz is actually really good at this. And I can't remember if it was him that gave me this idea, or maybe even another client of mine in San Antonio, but they created in their CRM. So this, if you have a CRM and know how to build this out, they were so dialed in to having a strategy for those who RSVP'd, maybe even if you're doing an Eventbrite, the ones who RSVP'd and didn't show, they had a strategy prepared of how are we going to follow up of, hey, I noticed you had RSVP'd for this. It looks like we missed you. I'm sure you had something, maybe you had a buyer you were working with or a listing that you had to commit to. I would love to meet with you and kind of give you the Cliff Notes version, and then offer you to come to my next mastermind, which is going to be, December, whatever. But having a strategy for those lost people who had every good intent, but for some reason couldn't make it, while also having a strategy for those who attended. And there was a different one that they did for those who RSVP'd and attended and those who didn't, because it was important for them to know, and that part of that was on the survey sheet when they got there, is how did they hear about the event? Or who kind of referred them to the event? Because again, that's dependent on who, how many people are you getting to help you promote this? And then having the strategy for those who maybe responded and was like asking for details, but they didn't RSVP and they didn't show. So it was a very similar touch as those who committed to going and didn't. But again, what was their intention? Was there anything that they were wanting more information on? Here's like a bullet point of the speakers, which you guys always give the show clock of like what their titles of each talk were any of these something that was of interest to you that we could meet about, but don't allow it to go flat with just paying attention to those who actually came, because I think there's a strategy in the other opportunities to really make this successful, so you can exponentially grow from targeting the event as part of your way of, deepening relationships or getting new relationships. Is don't forget about those other people and put them in a database and have a campaign for them.
I love it. So let's talk about follow-up in one sec. So the last thing I was thinking about, if I was hosting it in my office, again, you don't need to do anything fancy. Just, put in your conference room. If your conference room is busy, bring in rent a TV, hang it on the wall. You could certainly reserve a room at a fancy restaurant or something like that. And then you have people serving all day. I mean, I wouldn't overthink it though. I think it's just a matter of getting it set up, put the food on autopilot, right? Let's pretend you're only going to have 5 or 6 people there. You could do something cool, like have a little printed menu from Chipotle or whatever you're going to order. And then you could have it sitting on the counter for them. They could fill it out. And then again, you could, jump onto DoorDash and have it delivered, or you could have a team member, do that if you're lucky enough to have it. Just think about how to make it easy, but, typically just get, some little buffet food delivered and keep it simple. So number one was create the event. So we've already got the date. The date's November 3rd. It's 8 a.m. Pacific to 2-ish to 3-ish Eastern time. I would do the think through what the day looks like, right? We talked about the day of having a sheet, which I'm committed now. I put it on my to-do list to get a sheet together for you all so that you've got something, if not just get a pad of paper, have something there for them to take notes on. And, think about what that experience is going to look like the day of the event, because that is, your time to wow them. I think the other thing I was thinking about too, is you could always, I shouldn't say this, but you could always mute, me, Dave, and Steve when we're talking in between videos. And that could be your opportunity to have 2 or 3 minutes to say, all right, guys, real quick, what was your top takeaway? And go around the room and ask people their top takeaway to engage. Again, you're going to make notes on that. And then we're going to set up number 3, which is the fortunes and the follow-up, right? So how do you want to start that off, Deb?
Well, so first and foremost, hopefully you have a CRM where you're collecting their name information so that you can create a content calendar post event. But I recommend using this as like your kickoff party or kickoff event to the series that you can create. Maybe it's the first Wednesday of every month from here on out, where it's like Wisdom Wednesdays, or theme it, right? So I like to do themed days because it helps with just memory. But every first Wednesday is their commitment and your commitment to them that you are always going to have a mastermind class. Maybe it's at noon, so it's a lunch and learn, a working lunch where you'll have food brought in, and you'll show maybe a 3 to 5 minute talk from one of the speakers from the event, and you just carry that into the momentum where you have to have accountability. Everybody needs accountability in order to be successful. And this puts a level of accountability, not only for you, which I know some of the loan officers I speak with, they're like, oh, I'm gonna have to commit to this. And I'm like, you can't worry about it, because you're leveraging the content. It's not your intellectual property that you always have to come up with something that you're sharing. You're just taking the favorite based off your forms and your survey that you have. What was the most value that you provided based off the needs of your audience that you can then sprinkle out and get your, calendar. That's what I love about these calendars, and just go ahead and mark off, okay, the first Wednesday of every month, this is what I'm doing at this time. And how are we going to, carry this throughout the year, so that when we do this a year from now, that we've measured the success in the way that we need to. Why is my light? There we go. Is it? You're mute. You're mute, Todd.
I was muting because I was typing a question. I wanted you guys to put in chat if we missed anything or anything that you would do differently or add. So I muted myself, but Deborah's a ghost right now. We got to figure out what she did to her camera there. But so I would, again, the 12-month plan, right? So that was the last piece of it is take this $99 investment and leverage it into 12 months of successful conversations with your real estate agents. And so my playbook on that would be just what Deborah said: pick a day of the week. I personally like Tuesday or Wednesday, beginning of the week. People seem a little less hectic. I like lunch because people like free lunch. That makes it easy. It's harder if you do it at a happy hour or breakfast. It's just hard to get people out early. But if you do get them out early, then they're less likely to have a fire and miss a lunch. And then I would pick it to the beginning of the month, right? We all know real estate agents close transactions at the end of the month, and I would get them scheduled out. I would get it done now, and then I would get people to buy in and commit to it. You don't have to only have the people who made it to the event. Deborah talked about the importance of having a strategy for the people who missed it. But ultimately, then what you've got the ability to do is over the next 12 months is you'll have 2 different ways I think you could run it. In fact, there's probably infinite ways, but one way would be literally to pick your favorite video or the videos that other people comment on and play that video when they show up to the mastermind and make that the topic of the mastermind. So one way to do it would be to talk about, let's pretend it was on, I haven't watched the content yet. So once I know what the content is, let's pretend someone's going to have a great listing strategy. So you want to do a mastermind in January on getting listings, right? Or maybe it's on CMA a day. That would be an easy one for us to chat about and kind of banter back and forth. But maybe there's one on there, how to get more listings, and you talk about the hosting your own CMA a day challenge in the first quarter. And so you kick that off in January by showing a video on someone who talks about getting more listings. Then you talk about the CMA Day Challenge. We got tons of videos over in the Win by Noon user mastermind group. You guys are all welcome in there, whether you're Win by Noon users or not. And there's a ton of free content in there on that. There's tons of conversations that we've had here in this group on it. And then again, you're going to lead a dialogue with everyone. So you don't want to have an hour of content planned out. You want to actually have anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes of content, and then make the rest of it conversational around what's important to them. And so I think probably what Deb and I will do is we'll commit that as we go through the year. Maybe we'll even give you some ideas. Hey, here's January. In fact, we already did it. We're coming up with a CMA, a listing strategy for January. We can hang some meat on it. Maybe we'll do a call on that, as we get towards the end of the year or beginning of January, so that we can kind of set you guys up for success of almost like this lunch and learn in a box, based off of the content from Modern Real Estate Summit and then the other things that our community is so passionate about.
I love that. Lunch and learn in a box.
Yeah, look at that. All right, I'll put that on my to-do.
Yeah. And that is, I mean, even if you're on the Modern Mortgage Summit page, that's what we've done is we've taken, like mini lessons and micro content of different speakers in ways that you could literally share that and repurpose it in your own lessons, whether you're doing weekly pipeline meetings or, but it kind of chops it up in little nuggets that are easy to chew on while you're still working a full day. So what was it? Lunch and learn in a box? Is that what you called it?
That's what I called it. So,
Right.
We'll have to figure out what our plan is there.
Okay. And, don't forget those who are executing either the win by noon content, the daily, like today's Tuesday update calls. I know Jeremy also talked about this in his talk on the Modern Mortgage Summit. With Tuesday update calls, when you're talking to listing agents and your buyer's agents, that's an easy segue to just, hey, by the way, since I have you on the phone, I'm hosting an open house at my office in 2 weeks. It's going to be Wednesday, November 3rd. It's starting at 8 a.m. I'm going to have, a late brunch brought in and a late afternoon lunch. So, feel free to come in, pop by, fill your belly, learn from some of the best speakers in the industry, specifically about real estate, but I'd love to have you there. So Tuesday is a great opportunity when you're already having those agent phone calls, and Thursdays, because Thursdays are, what is Thursdays? Your referral partner calls.
Look at you weaving in the theme days. I love it. And I think that's a big part of it. I mean, most of you I know are already doing those things, whether it's, Tuesdays and Thursdays or some other days, but it is the opportunity to reach out. And oftentimes I find that when I was doing loans, it was, why am I calling someone, right? It's that call reluctance is about what to say. So it's super easy to call someone with an update. That's why, Tuesdays is the day that we did it. I think Jeremy, that's the day he does it too. And then the other part is that you've got now an invitation, right? I'm inviting you to something. And so think about that as you go forward, right? So for me, always Thursdays was my realtor call dates. Why did I do it on Thursday? I did it on Thursday because I was trying to protect my weekend, right? You've all had that where the real estate agent calls you on Friday night at 7:00 and says, hey, can you do this pre-qual for me when you're walking in the movie theater or sitting down with your family for dinner? And you're like, well, shoot, you know what? You probably knew about this 3 weeks ago. And they're like, oh, no, they just flew into town. And then you talk to the client, they're like, well, yeah, we booked this 3 weeks ago. And so you know that the agent was doing that. So you protect your weekend by checking in with your agents ahead of time. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? And they're going to tell you that they're working or they're going to do something fun. If they're working, you're like, awesome. Hey, I'm here to help. And when you're taking out, looking at houses, so that's when you get the Smith family that they forgot to refer to you, so that you don't have to have that weekend call and have that urgent weekend pre-qual. So you're protecting your weekend. And it also tells you what your follow-up is for Monday, right? If they're taking the Smiths out who you already pre-qualified, then you're going to call on Monday to check to see if they found them a house, right? Do they have any real estate agents you need to call? So it gives you that follow-up. If they said they had fun, guess what? Then that gives you the question form for your next call next week, when you call them next Thursday, or if you call them every 2 or 3 weeks. If they're not your A agents, you might call your B agents every 2 weeks and everyone else every 3 to 4 weeks. But then you can say, hey, how was it when you went to see Garth Brooks in concert, last week or the week before? It gives you that follow-up question if you take notes and remember what it is. And so the whole idea here is that now you're going to have this new class, this lunch and learn that we've just installed for you for all of 2022. And that's going to give you one of the topics for one of your calls each week when you're calling your database of realtors to invite them to something. And you're going to use that also, as Deborah said, on the Tuesday update calls as well. Again, think about that. You're talking to a listing agent. How's your business? Oh, good. Hey, do you have all the listings you can handle? No. Well, guess what? In January, I'm going to be running a lunch and learn on how to get more listings. Would you like to come? Right? I mean, think about how, if you have that habit of making the calls and now you have something to say, how easy it's going to be to get people in the room, not just your current people, but new people as well.
So can we just address the elephant in the room? where I personally feel like what I've heard feedback on, or what I get asked the most, is how do I get people there? How do I drive the traffic there? And I know this isn't always the response they want to hear, but it's said in love, where I tell them how many calls. Like I believe in technology, and there's a way you can leverage technology to get the word out. But earning the commitment and getting someone on the phone where they can hear the energy, they can feel it, it feels personalized. It's not a mass slide dial broadcast where a voicemail's dropped and it doesn't feel personalized. In fact, when I used to get those messages, I was like, if you can't personalize a text to me, don't send me a text. I was such a brat. But a phone call goes a long ways, because when you're talking to them, it's like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. I have an event that I'm hosting in 2 weeks. I would really love to see you and just kind of catch up. It's going to be very informal. We're going to pause and have conversation, but it's a come and go, come hungry. We're going to have food there, but I just would really love, to see you, and would like to know if there was a time slot that you want to commit to, because maybe you only have a room full of, 15 seats or 20 seats, kind of put some urgency around it. But when you make the call, and that's my first question, is how many calls are you making? So my challenge to you all listening is to make a commitment this week that maybe you make 5 calls a day. 5 calls. All you can control is the attempt. You can't control if somebody answers, but make a commitment. How many calls are you going to have? And then while you have them on the phone, try to get them to verbally commit to, okay, so, which seat should I bookmark you in? Do you think realistically, if you go and have them, go ahead and look at your calendar. Do you have something big going on that day? Because I want to make sure that you get a seat, there. Again, also, if you're having the calls and maybe they're not answering, this little rectangular thing has a camera with a button that says record. You could easily say, hey, Todd, this is Deborah. Gosh, it's been so long since I've seen you. I am ready to host an event, which I have coming up in 2 weeks, and I personally want to invite you. So please feel free to come by. It's going to be November 3rd. It's going to start at 8 a.m. where it's going to be very informal, come and go, come as you are. If you can't stay the whole time, that's fine. But I would really love to see you, and it's been too long. So come by, just respond below and let me know if I can see you there, and I'll make sure to have a seat for something that simple. So if you're having trouble filling the room, I would ask you, how many phone calls are you having? How many have you committed to having, and how many are you having? And of those that you're having, how many answer? And that's a good red flag for you and your business, that if you're making calls and people aren't answering, why? Maybe we need to up the value game. Where is it you're always calling, asking for something, or, maybe it hasn't been always something of value. This is a way to kind of reposition yourself in their mind of, that's going to change. I want to make 2022 better than 2021. And so this is what you're committed to doing. And yeah, it's scary. And maybe you haven't been making calls, and you haven't been prospecting, and you've been leaning on your refi business, but it's drying up. What are you willing to do to go serve 100 more families next year? How much effort are you going to put into that? Are you going to fight for it? How hard would you fight? Do you really want it? Then you're going to have to pick up the phone and make the call.
Ouch. She said that in love. She told you that, but it's true, right? In the end, it is my experience from me personally, and then, coaching hundreds of loan officers over the years and hundreds of real estate agents as well, is that the hesitance is always in what to say. And I do think, Deborah nailed it, right? You could do a slide broadcast, but that's not really how you want to get a hold of these people. You could do the Steve Sims easy button, and you could do a one text video, like she just said, right? Pick that thing up and do a text video. You could do one that says, hey, awesome. It's been so long since I've seen you. I would love I'd love to have you to the open house, use a script that Deborah just gave and send it where it's not personalized, right? How do you want to up it? You personalize it. Hey, I just left you a voicemail, right? So again, I would still be calling first. Hey, I just left you a voicemail. So I'd be like, hey, Deborah, it's Todd Bookspan. I just left you a voicemail. Hey, super excited about the event I told you about. Listen to it. Mark your calendar now that you need to be at my office on November 3rd. Can't wait to see you. Let me know. And that's it, right? Keep it super simple, but then it's personalized as well, right? So I think that's, love that piece of it. Love that reminder that you've got that tool in your pocket that you're probably, get off of the other things you shouldn't be doing on there and get busy dialing the phone. So, we're kind of going to go into wrap up mode here. If anyone has any questions or needs anything from Deborah, info@plugandplaysm.com. She already gave you the offer that she'll make that little invitation for you that she did for Denise last year. I think that's a great opportunity for you. Again, you want to start with the email, then you want to follow up with the phone call, and then you're going to follow up with the video text, and you're going to fill that room. And then if you have any questions about the event, you can reach out to me, Todd@winbynoon.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think that the real key is you've got this 15-day window that Deborah just highlighted. It's 15 days. It scares me since I'm all excited. We're getting ready for it. But the time to act is now, right? We were given few opportunities in life for things to be easy. And I think this is one of the easy buttons and the easiest opportunities that you're going to have to close out this year strong, right? I encourage a lot of you to do your own CMA Day Mastermind, and you thought, yeah, I should do that, and you didn't do it, right? We've encouraged you to do lots of different things, and this one, I think, I know you can do if you choose to do it. You're just going to have to decide now to do it. You're going to have to make sure that you got access to your conference room. You're going to go in there, create the sexy title we talked about. You're going to go ahead and create the invitation. You're going to send it out. If you don't want to create an invitation, you're just going to pick up the phone and start calling. Then you can put it together. Worst case is you call people today on your update calls and you say, hey, mark your calendar for the 3rd. I've got this event and I want you to be there. And I'll give you details on it next week. You don't even need to tell them where it's going to be. Because again, maybe you're like, oh shoot, I'm going to get so many people. I got to have it at a restaurant or somewhere cool like that. What else should we do as wrap-up mode, Deborah, that we want to make sure we remind people of?
I think, and I forgot to say this when I was doing my script, is, for the agents that you work closest with and you're making those phone calls or those custom video text messages, I think it's a good urgency tactic to say, hey, I just wanted to personally reach out to you because we're about to offer it to all of our agent database, but you're one of my VIPs or personal favorites. And I would really like to get this invite to you first before the seats fill up, obviously to make it RESPA compliant. But this is a very genuine invitation that I hope can launch and kick off our 2022 together. And I'd really like to see you and would really like, for you to be there. But that way it gives you that, makes them feel significant because you're offering it to them first before it goes public, because they're probably going to see on your social media you start advertising this. So get ahead of the game and say, before I start posting this on social, I want to offer you a seat first. And then again, that makes the commitment more valuable. I
like that scarcity, right? Scarcity. Hey, I've already, and again, you're going to have to seed the first couple of calls of, hey, I know I'm going to overfill the room. But I want to offer it to you first. So I love that way of approaching it. And, once you've got 1 or 2 people that, are respected, then you can get more people. You can also ask them, hey, do you know anyone else in your office who might benefit from showing up to this? I've got, two extra seats and I'm looking for 2 more people who are really looking to grow their business as we head into 2022. That just blows me away.
Yeah. And, I know I had mentioned this and we've got 3 minutes, but this is the time of year that also some who may be struggling in their business, or maybe they had, challenges with inventory, or even some who are killing it. I shared with Todd yesterday, a real estate agent here in our area who's a massive producer, huge downline with EXP, great family, just married, on social media, lives the perfect life, right? And he had committed suicide. And so I think now more than ever is a good time to kind of give you some convictions, to just call and check in with people, even the ones that may look like they're killing it. A phone call goes a long way. How are you doing? How's business? Anything I can do for you? Anything that you're studying right now or wanting to learn of? Okay, great. At the summit, this speaker is talking on that very topic. This may be the best time for you to come. So just care and reach out. And I know we care, but don't allow being busy to, hurt those critical relationships where you're intentional with your calls. And just, holidays can be tough for families, and some who are going through divorce or have maybe some demons going on that they don't want to reveal. Reach out to them, let them know you care about them and you want to see them succeed.
Yeah, that was such a sad thing when you sent it over. And I think it's really critical to I would just view this as the quarter to connect. I kind of want to maybe end where we started. One of the things when Deborah and I did our CMA day call yesterday, she really talked about getting face to face with people and how important it is. And I think it really is. I mean, it's, I think that the one thing that the health situation really forced us all into was, or at least me, into being a hermit, right? And not connecting, not staying as connected with people. And so even if you're not in a position where you're going to get together face to face with people, you can still live this out. Just pick up the phone and call them and just say, hey, I'm just checking in, right? And then shut up and let them tell you what's going on in their world. And don't be afraid to ask the question behind the question. I think that that's always really critical. Because ultimately, you have to maybe kind of push them and go a little bit deeper. And then just know, we're here to help promote your success. And so when Dave gave us the opportunity to run this call today, we really talked about what is it that we can do to make you have a fabulous fourth quarter, and more importantly, set up your 2022. And this is just an idea that both of us resonate on together. We're going to be digging in, just kind of a spoiler alert, into the business planning aspect and how to build that in as well. So we're going to spend a different call talking about that for those of you who have a passion about business planning with your partners, of how to do it. So you'll get the Deborah spin on it, the Todd spin on it, so that you can kind of weave your own. And so as always, Deborah, it's a pleasure to have you here with me. You make it so much better.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, Todd.
No, my pleasure. Thanks to all of you for being here. So on behalf of, Robert, thank you too, by the way, behind the scenes. On behalf of Dave, Robert, the rest of the Mortgage Coach team, myself, and the Win by Noon crew, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. You can crush it in 2022. I hope this is part of the roadmap to get there. Can't wait to hear about your success.